The Film/Crew review Stan and Ollie, a film to remember or to forget. Probably forget, it's very forgetful.
Forget what? Hey team, Angus Dragon here. Welcome to the Film/Podcast. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Kane Diggly Wiggly Kane Dogs.
Hi.
The man formerly known as
Broadman
Richards. This week, Kane Dogs,
Brody,
he shall be henceforth known as...
How's your walking going? You 100% yet?
What are you talking about?
Great. So Brody hurt his leg last week, and
No.
following on from that...
The one-legged man hurt his leg last week.
Following on from that, the Hobgoblin.
The Hobgoblin.
I know Hobgoblin already works because he
Hobgoblin.
hobbles, but I wanted to emphasize the hop, so it's
He
Hobgoblin.
just really likes hoppy
Doesn't make much
beers.
sense because I'm not hopping anymore.
The Hobgoblin.
Yeah,
I'm walking pretty
The
good.
Hobgoblin.
All right, this week we are reviewing Stan and Ollie. Kane Dogs, would you like to hit us up with that IMDb summary?
I can try.
Alright.
Laurel and Hardy, the world's most famous comedy duo, attempt to reignite their film careers as they embark on what becomes the swan song, a grueling theatre tour of post-war Britain.
When'd you see the movie?
Oh,
Well,
what did you think?
think?
When you see the movie, what did you think? Do you like the movie? None of the shit.
Kane Dogs, when'd you see the movie? What did you think?
I saw it yesterday with the SBF, and saw it at about 3:30 yesterday.
Is that the local
Saturday.
British channel?
Yeah.
Television channel?
And
yeah.
it was really boring. I thought it was quite boring. Really well made, but really boring.
Fair. Birdman, when'd you see the movie? What'd you think?
I saw it Saturday afternoon. Thought it was pretty average. Quite pretty. And well performed though. Yeah, I thought it was pretty average. It looked pretty decent though. Yeah, so that's pretty much how the whole rundown went for me.
Very good.
There you go. Over to you, Angus Malou.
Yo, it's Angus Malou here, and I saw the movie this morning.
Wow.
As always.
As always, the morning of, day of.
Yep. The morning walk of shame to the movies.
So time to collect your thoughts.
Yep. No, I thought the movie was pleasantly charming. It wasn't a big blockbuster or anything like that, but I think charming's the word for it. There wasn't like
I was not charmed.
I was charmed. That's what I'm gonna go with. That's what I'm sticking with.
And nobody guessed.
Sticking with my guns.
Nobody wanted to have a go at the SBF. Nobody, you know.
Yeah, the British TV channel.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Standard British fiction. Come on, let's go.
No.
We already hit it. We already went past it. We already said
Moving
goodbye to it.
Fine.
All right.
Bring it up later.
Lads, you know how every week I put up on Instagram and no longer Twitter. I'm pretty sure Twitter's dead anyway.
Yep.
What movie we're reviewing, and I ask our Slicey Slicers out there what they thought of the film in question. This week being Stan and Ollie.
Stan and Ollie. Also known as Stan and Babe is what it should have been called because the one
Yes.
character is never referred to as Ollie. He is always referred to as Babe.
Babe.
Which I thought was oddly confusing because I didn't understand why it was called Babe.
Jordan, it's Ollie confusing. Come on, get it right.
My internet's not working, so I'm guessing none.
Yep, that's fair.
When did you put it up?
Oh, we got one.
We got one!
We got one, and we are now being followed by movie 2183, which is
You know
nice.
in
So
the Simpsons
suss them
movie,
let them know if we're any good.
you know the Simpsons movie where the FBI is like, we finally got one. We actually did.
actually
We
got
found
it."
someone we were actually looking for. That's what it sounds like. That's what it feels like every time we get. It's like we actually got a comment.
Sorry, I lied. That was
Okay.
last week's comment. This week we have none. Last week's comment being the one from Jordan Kane, 1994.
Okay. So last week, one of the hosts posted. This week, no one did.
No one posted.
So
Yeah.
not even a host posted.
Why do we do this again?
I don't know.
I'll tell you why.
It's not going
Anyway.
well.
That's
I-
what the Slicey Slicers thought on Instagram. Kane Dogs, any Slicey Slicers hit you up on Facey?
They did.
Did they hit your Facey?
I put it on Facebook.
Yep.
And bringing back the classic segment of would Mum and Dad like it?
Very good.
This is would my parents like it? It starts with Mum. ...
Should we do the opening song?
Yeah, if you could do the opening song for us, Angus. I know we don't have the
Okay.
actual tune here, so if you
Yeah,
could just
well,
sing it for us.
Well, we can do a live rendition right now.
Yeah, if you could just do that.
What does Jordan's parents think? Think of the parents think of the movie. The movie. The movie.
So much of this is going to be cut out.
The movie.
Cool. That was well done.
Thank you.
It starts with mum. ... For those old enough to remember this comedy duo, my parents are, it's an interesting take on the end of their career. I enjoyed the movie, even though it took a while for the plot to thicken. Dad, presumably my dad, not mum's dad, found it a bit on the slow side. A lot of people would have found it quite boring. I did enjoy it. We both were amazed at how much prosthetics were used, it says wheat used to make Oliver's actor gain 30 or more kilo needed for the role. Typing this whilst driving on a very bumpy road, presumably in a car.
There you go. Well, that's what our Slicey Slicers thought of this week. Moving on to our next segment. Would you recommend it? And who would you recommend it? To?
Who would you recommend?
No, we can't have a song for reference. Shut up. It'll take too long. Would I recommend it? No. Moving on.
I probably wouldn't recommend this one, but if there were any diehard Stan and Ollie fans out there, then obviously
there aren't.
But maybe like to your grandparents or something, people who were very much around when all of this was going on. So people who maybe born back in the 20s or the 30s, that would be around.
You look like
for
you've
the 40s
dressed
or
like
50s.
me.
What are you talking about?
That's really going to fit in well with the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for interrupting me, Jordan, to make to comment on the visuals of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I had a group of very elderly people kind of come in, and they loved it. Like, even though, like, all of the comedy bits and everything, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And
remember the comedy of
kind of
slowly dancing?
Didn't this
I
one?
think
This film felt like a Netflix film to me. Like in visual style and in
really well made, but kind of underwhelming for a movie theater.
Yeah, it was like it very much felt like it belonged on a streaming service, which was odd to go. I think that they're like maybe they could have done that, but their target audience would not have been like
would not know what Netflix is.
Yeah, wouldn't be using streaming services, so they like put it out into the cinemas, and like there was only like 5 other people in my cinema other than me, so yeah.
Yeah,
not a huge turnout, and I saw it on a Saturday afternoon.
Me and Brody saw it together. SPF was second best friend. Never mind. But yeah, me and Brody saw it together. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's getting cut.
Oh.
I would so I would recommend it to the older generation, but I'd also recommend it to people that are kind of interested in comedy. And not so much interested in comedy in the fact of like trying to make people laugh and everything, but more the history of comedy and kind of where it's coming from, because
there's almost a lot of documentary-like.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things in this film, like a lot of skits that they do where you're like, I've seen that a million times, but they were probably the first ones to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of the comedy that they do was, kind of dependent on the time where movies didn't really have a lot of voice in it, and it was all kind of very physical and stuff. Like, it's very much kind of Charlie Chaplin-esque.
It's slapstick
humor, slapstick, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like if you're interested in that kind of a history, like the early comedians and stuff like that, like I feel like it is interesting to watch. But other than that, I think
could have done with
the
it
audience
being like a 45-minute show that was like, here's all about Stan and Ollie in 45 minutes.
How long did it run for? It didn't run for too long.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
90 minutes. 100 minutes.
Sweet. Anything before we head on into the cinema decks?
This is very much not your blockbuster film.
Yeah.
Do not go in expecting something big or something like that will keep you like involved the entire time. This is maybe a little bit dry and a little bit slow.
If you're bored and it's a weekend and you're like, you know what? Let's go out. We'll see a film. We'll do something.
Yeah.
Let's go. This isn't the one you go and see. You'll be more bored when you leave.
This is the kind of film that you would go to see if it was one of those days where it's even too hot to go to the beach.
I think this is a
So,
film.
and so you would go to a cinema to cool down. This is that kind of film because it's like slow. You could easily relax in this film.
This is a film you'd see on purpose if you dissected films.
All right, let's move on into our spoilers. Broadman, can you sound the spoiler alarm? Wrong alarm. The
That's the wrong one.
spoiler alarm.
Oh, the spoiler alarm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We should really stop getting Brody to do alarms.
Better bloody look away because there's gonna be some bloody spoilers in this really episode right now. Oh, what a cool sound effect, Angus.
All right, we are in the spoiler section where we dissect and divulge everything
Yep.
about the film Broadman, Cinema Dick.
He
Okay,
has
I'll,
not.
I'll just do the Cinema Dick theme.
Yeah. All right. First off, Cinema Dick theme. Broadman.
Oddly jazz related so far.
For some reason, don't like Jordan. Okay, so Cinema Dick for this week. Wool World has started using bloody paper straws for their drinks.
Paper straws.
Paper straws.
So Brody looked at me in the end and his straw was not a straw anymore.
Yeah, it was the first time I've gotten a drink with it for ages. Because you know how if you get like a lemonade or whatever from the movies, it's like syrup and they mix it together there so it tastes different, tastes much better.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm hankering for that. Gonna grab one. Grabbed one. Paper straws. What? So
They've been around for a while now.
they get soggy. And
Yeah.
so you can't push them further down because they just like crinkle.
It's one of those ideas that shouldn't have made it past the drawing board of like, what else can we do if not plastic? And so I was like, how about we make the straws out of paper? And no
Paper's
one went.
recyclable.
No one
yeah,
went.
They are recyclable.
But no one went, you're an
Wait,
idiot.
isn't plastic recyclable? Oh. Shit. But yeah, paper.
Nobody just picked up a piece of paper that day, poured some water on it, and went, this is why we don't do that.
Yeah. So the longer I used it for,
yeah.
the more damp and crinkly it got. Even the bit where like my lips were. So like that bit was like
Yeah.
wet paper. And it was like, what the hell is this? Why did they do that? Why
Very
did they
good.
make that decision? Oh.
Fair.
Also, Jordan was in there, so that was general disappointment.
I've been told that my whole life, from friends and family alike.
K-Dogs, any Cinema Dicks?
Oh, look, Brody's a bit of a punce.
Fair enough. I feel like I'm really missing out on the banter going to the cinemas by myself. I do
Top
have
that, Angus's girlfriend.
I do have a Cinema Dick.
Yep.
It was one of the elderly crew that was there.
They really need to fucking
they're-
pull their heads in, the elderly. I tell ya, they're really stepping out of line. Take them
One
down
of-
a notch, I say.
One of them didn't put their phone on silent and then got a call throughout the movie. But instead of
They
rummaging,
probably didn't hear it.
instead of rummaging through their bag and trying to turn it off, they're like, "Oh, I thought I turned that off. Didn't I turn that off? I thought you saw me turn that off. I'm pretty sure. Is that mine? Nah, I'm pretty sure I turned mine off." It was
It was theirs.
It
That's
was-
great. That's fantastic.
Ugh.
So she just announced to the whole cinema like, "Nope,
That's like, if
That's
you,
not me,
if
guys.
if you weren't that age,
it wasn't me."
if you weren't that age, it's the same as just being like, hey, someone should beat me up after this movie.
So, Stan and Ollie. Most positive things about the movie Cane Dogs. Wanna hit us up with your...
Sure thing, Angus man. I liked some of the more
See?
witty
Points.
moments between Stan and Babe.
Yep.
Such as the part on the boat when they're talking about knowing that there was no movie towards the end. They're both kind of like having a chat, and he's like, wait, so you knew there was no movie? He's like, yeah, I knew there was no movie. I thought you knew that I knew there was no movie. And then he's like, I didn't know that you thought that I knew that you knew there was no movie.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what would
my line be?
What would my line be here? And then he's like, your line would be, I thought that you knew that I knew that you didn't know that I knew that there was going to be no movie. I really like there was a couple of witty moments like that. I really like that kind of witty comedy like that. But it was a little bit few and far between, but it's still really enjoyable moments. Those moments that came up.
Definitely.
Over to you, Angus man.
My most positive, I think the makeup done on John C. Reilly was
very
really
good.
good. It did look fake, but again, like kind of that Netflixy kind of look, like not a bad fake, but like I think that the makeup and the whole costume design and everything was pretty true to the era.
And he had two different levels of like being overweight as well, like in
Yeah.
the 40s and in the 50s.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that bit because, as you know, I've brought it up many times before, but I hate like biopics where the actor looks nothing like.
Yeah.
Me and
person.
Brody mentioned that
Yeah,
when we
these
watched
two
the
look
film.
exactly the same as the guys.
Yeah.
They show some of the actual footage at the end of the film,
Yeah.
and they look exactly like the two
Yeah,
characters.
definitely. Which I really enjoyed, and I did enjoy that kind of photo and the videos at the end of the film as well during the credits of like the actual one. That and yeah, I really like the comedy and seeing it on stage and everything. And I thought even though you can kind of see what they're doing kind of a mile away, it was just like enjoyable to watch them having fun.
The hospital bed sketch was really good.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah, I really like
I didn't
that.
really like the dancing very much, but that hospital sketch.
Yeah,
was,
and again,
was
like
actually pretty decent.
that's such like something that's lost nowadays. Is like movie stars and everything. They'd be good at singing. They'd be good at dancing. They'd be good at acting. They'd be good at, I don't know, running races. Or, like they'd be good at a lot of things. Whereas we've kind of lost that now. Like not a lot of actors do anything else besides act, and not a lot of performers do anything besides one thing. But I think one thing about that era is that these were talented people. They were just like best of the best kind of thing. Yeah, so I enjoyed that and the whole kind of trip down memory lane back when I was a young boy watching bloody.
Yeah, well,
Laurel
you
and
even see
Hardy.
it that that Stan is writing all of Stan and Ollie's content, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like that's very different to a lot of
Just
stuff
like
now.
this podcast, how I write all of our content. And clearly we need to get better writers, but
And so now I say, yes, you are the beast. Best.
beast.
You are the beast.
Exactly.
I thought it said breast.
Oh, yes, you are the breast.
That's the typo.
That's a typo.
Typo.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, my positive is sort of going to bleed into my negative a bit.
Yeah.
My positive is everything about this movie, from the cast, performances, the way they managed to recreate Britain back in that era.
Yep.
All of that was executed perfectly.
The Eiffel Tower.
Everything was... That was a good joke. Everything was executed perfectly. I didn't have a single flaw about this film objectively.
Mm-hmm.
My negative that bleeds out of that is studios need to stop assuming that just because someone is famous, it does not mean their life was interesting. That's my biggest problem, is this movie was perfectly done, but the idea of doing a biopic about these characters shouldn't have gone this far because their life just isn't that interesting. It was great.
How many times do you reckon we can punch Jordan in this episode?
Yeah.
It was just that usually when I see biopics about people in the film industry or biopics about anything, it's usually because they overcame something impossible or because some coincidental statistical odds happened that just shouldn't have, or someone went through an incredible trauma. In this, it's
Just
two blokes worked together in showbiz for 40 years and maybe they had some disagreements, which is kind of expected. And at the end, one of them died, but not in the movie. It was just they died at the end of the movie with a little bit of text that told us what date they died. But nothing actually happened in this film. It was done perfectly, but I couldn't give a fuck. It didn't make me want to go back and research them more. It didn't make me interested in that type of comedy. It didn't make me be like, you know what? I wish this stuff was like... Or it didn't make me go, I really feel for actors back then and how everything's... Didn't make me think or question any of that. It just made me go, those are two people that I believe existed in a time, and they were normal people that did things.
Yeah, it's definitely not like an eventful film.
Yeah.
It's more a character-driven...
It's just that, I think the studio made the mistake of thinking these people were famous. Let's make a movie about their life. But their life it's not that interesting. They did some films together, and then they did a show, and then one of them died.
Yeah. Again, like, I feel like it's interesting to a niche audience, but
very
like,
niche
besides
audience.
that...
Yeah, this is also what I've got down for my least favorite. It all kind of went nowhere, and they had a 2-day disagreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much similar.
And I've just got one more negative that's a bit more from a comical standpoint in my point of view, but Ollie is told that he can't go and perform again because his heart will give out. And at the end, they agree. Ollie tricks Stan and says, "You know what? Let's end with a bang. Let's do the dance that I've been told I'm not allowed to do. I know it's really hard on my heart, and the dance that they do is the least athletic. It'd be no harder than walking from one room to another room. They do some light steps, a bit of heel and toe work, and then they walk around each other in a circle. The end. And if he can't do that without having a heart attack, then he shouldn't be alive at all, because getting into or out of a car would also kill him. And singing a song would be more difficult than that dance.
I don't think they were in any cars, were they?
Yeah.
They were only in a train.
No, they're not. But my point is that the physical exercise that is in that dance is so minimal that singing would be harder on his heart than that dance routine.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were like, oh, you can't perform that dance. Like, don't dare perform that dance. It'll be really... No, it's not. It's the easiest dance. I was able to mimic it after seeing it once.
If you
It's
would
a
like to
real
see
simple
Jordan
dance.
mimic it, we will film it after the podcast.
I'll do it.
We'll put it up on
Me
Facebook.
and Brody will do it.
Okay.
Oh, I've been roped into this.
Yep.
All right, so make
Didn't
sure
agree
you...
to anything.
And
Make
if
sure you
one of us
jump
has a
on-
heart attack, then I'll admit that I'm wrong.
Hashtag
That's it.
not in the contract. So while we are here nesting in the lovely negatives, I guess we're down in here yet. Do we want me to do a negative theme tune?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Negatives. Okay, so I also saw that.
That's my favourite one because it was brief.
Okay, I can make it longer.
No.
Negative.
No.
Okay, Jordan's being a bit negative towards that, so I guess we'll continue on.
That was the whole bit right there.
that's the whole bit,
Perfect.
yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
good.
Expert writing by
Hashtag-
me. I'm glad you followed the script to a T. Well done.
You're welcome. They used there was like very minor nitpick that I saw. They used the same crowds across different nights.
Yeah.
I saw some of the same actors or same
No, they
extras.
just have really diehard fans.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, that's the same guy that was there like a month ago. I was just like, so that like a little moment like that really that kind of took me out because they seem to be sitting in like similar seats, and I was like, that's interesting. It's like I guess maybe they were just like a little bit strapped for time. They didn't move everyone around a bunch. But yeah, other than that, a lot of it was quite good. I quite enjoyed the one shot at the beginning. It was quite it wasn't some massive one shot from a lot of films, but it was kind of a one shot done right.
It told you the world that you're about to be thrown into.
It wasn't a one shot for the sake of being an incredible one shot. It was just like they used it to kind of envelop you in the story at the beginning to get you
It
interested.
also shows what it was like being famous, because it says they were the biggest movie stars in the world. They made it. And then it cuts to the one shot of them walking through, and like three people kind of know them. Like they talk to people. Like they have conversations with people.
Yeah.
But it's not like
These days.
Will Smith, and he's got his own penthouse next
Yeah.
to where they film, and he walks up and he's got five people. One of them gets him a Coke, and one of them fetches his food.
Walks on
One of them's-
stage, gets painted blue. He's
Yeah.
in the new movie.
One of them's
Done.
in charge of making sure his clothes hang correctly. Like, it's just, they made it. This is as famous as you get. And they're still just two sort of down-to-earth, relatable dudes doing a job.
Just two guys, man.
Just two guys. No homo, just two guys.
Getting
Just-
along.
just getting along.
Just getting along. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that kind of going back to the start, I did really like that one shot. But it does kind of lead into my negatives a bit, where I think it would have been better to kind of see them from the start as well, or just like a little bit more from the start. On,
I did
like,
want to see
how
them
they
being
got-
famous.
how they became famous and everything. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like it doesn't really say much besides like the opening title scene, which I did enjoy, that they had like an opening title like they would have had back in like the silent film age. But yeah, I would have just liked to seen like maybe a bit more backstory to the actual people, because it kind of just opens on two characters in a film set kind of thing, instead of like where they've come from. And I think the movie
struggling to be in the business, they're just already in the business.
exactly, and that, and then the kind of massive cut where it just like they do their dance, it cuts, and then the
40
title
years
comes up.
later.
Yeah, 16 years later.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that changed up. But like, I mean, I guess they did have a few flashbacks and everything. But
Yeah, Jordan mentioned something after we watched it. He said that it felt like it was a little bit lower budget than a lot of other films.
yeah,
And
yeah.
well, like thinking about that, I mean, it also makes me think of the runtime for this film as well, because it was a bit of a shorter runtime. Whereas like sometimes biopics can drag on quite a bit. I think if they had a higher budget, they might have gone for the whole like let's tell the whole story. Let's go like year after year of them
How they
working
met,
in this
kinda,
business.
I think it would have
them
helped
meeting
with
their first
everything.
wives
Yeah,
splitting up,
yeah,
meeting
yeah.
their second wives, splitting up
Splitting up.
again,
I
meeting their
think-
third wives.
That would have really helped us connect to the characters, because the film starts with them not really having that rapport and getting along. And then the majority of the film is them sort of bickering a bit. And you don't really care. It's not like, oh, this amazing friendship is falling apart. Because where we see them, that friendship has already fallen apart.
Yeah.
So it's like... not like the rapport between each other only varies in very small amounts. Whereas if we saw them from the start and saw them work together for such a long period of time, and then we saw the first falling out, then by the end when they're sort of together again, you'd have more investment in that. But
Yeah.
from where we start, where they're already not really friends, and it ends with them being kind of friends.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you just
Yeah,
didn't... I
definitely.
just wasn't as invested in their relationship because we started with it already not being together.
While we were just talking about the wives, I think they were acted out brilliantly as well. And I would say maybe the Russian wife is probably one of the funnious characters in the film.
She got probably the only 2 laughs from me in the whole film.
Yeah, I think she was probably one of my favorite parts of the film.
Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Anything else about this film that we should mention to the Slicey Slices?
Maybe one other small nitpick is
okay.
the comedy that they do within the shows that they present. They also do in real life in front of audience members of like just bystanders and stuff like that. But the problem is sometimes as an audience in the actual movie watching this movie, they just came across as really dumb or cringeworthy because the humor, like, as me and Brody had this conversation, but the humor of when they existed was probably really great, but that humor doesn't really work in today's society. And as a result, the humor in the movie doesn't really come across as being that funny, as more cringeworthy. And so when they just do it not in the show, sometimes the people that they do it to laugh and sometimes they sort of smirk a bit. And it's hard for me to grasp whether they're finding it funny or whether they're finding it cringeworthy because I'm finding it cringeworthy. There's a part where he's sitting in a lobby waiting to meet Miffin, like an agent, and he starts doing this trick with his hat and the receptionist sort of rolls her eyes and snickers, and I'm not sure whether I'm meant to think that she found that funny or whether I'm meant to think that she finds him old hat. Like I can't tell sometimes.
Yeah, it is tricky.
There was a lot
it's
of
definitely
that.
of the time.
Yeah.
Kind of, for sure. And I think it's like that part's maybe a bit of commentary on, performers' lives and everything, that like it's kind of hard for them to like differentiate themselves
Their
in
character
reality to their characters.
and the pressure that they'd have to be
funny all the time.
Like, I did really like that even when they were having an argument. Like, there's a scene where after one of their shows, they go to, like, the reception and they have a fight there, and one of them throws, like, a hat and the other one throws, like, a bit of bread.
Yeah.
And the people in the reception are like, good show!
Yeah,
and it's like, was that a bit?
Yeah.
But I think it's more, they both actually had a real argument, but also they both know that they have to keep up a certain... Because I don't think he actually angrily threw a bit of bread without realizing that they were in front of a crowd. I think they both realize that they still have a persona they have to uphold.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
if they hate each other, they still have to pretend that they're this incredible comedy duo.
Definitely.
And that probably tugged at the heartstrings the most for me, is that even when they're both falling apart, they have to pretend that they're the best of friends in front of everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And there's another like little throwaway scene that's Ollie's just bet on a horse or something, and he goes to buy the paper. He obviously hasn't won the bet, lost $60, meaning that he can't buy. He cracks it. Has this kind of momentary lapse in like who he is,
his persona,
and then turns around and there's kids kind of laughing at him, and he's like, "Oh yeah,
I'll have to bubble it up a bit for the kids."
Yeah, exactly, and just like waves at the kids.
It's the only reason why me and Angus appear to be friends in public.
What?
I've been You haven't been pretending?
No.
I thought you knew. So I was pretending to not know that because I thought you were pretending to know.
But how would I know that you knew?
I've been pretending that I didn't know that Brody knew because I assumed you knew that I knew that we weren't actually friends, but you didn't know that Brody knew, so you were humouring him, so I was helping you humour him.
But how would you know that I didn't know? That you knew that Brody knew that I didn't know?
I just
that you knew?
I assumed you knew from the time where I was clearly pretending to be your friend because you had got a haircut and I told you it was good, and very clearly it was the shittest haircut anyone has ever had, and I assumed from there you realised that I was pretending.
Well, this is all new to me.
Alright, cut, we did it. It's the best bit of writing you'll ever see. If you followed that, well, I'm really
You'll
sorry.
enjoy this film.
You've wasted your time.
Cool. All right, do you want to leave that there?
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you for listening to Films Last Podcast. Next week we're reviewing King of Thieves with Michael Caine in it.
Michael Caine.
Make sure you hit us up on Instagram and
very-
Twitter and Facey.
not
And we will
members
see you in the next
of the Wayne
episode.
family.
I am Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
My name's Michael Caine.
Make sure you tune in next week to see Michael Caine.
To see Michael Caine on the Audio Best podcast.
He doesn't speak. No, he's not going to speak.